probably already know that colostrum is the first step in starting calves off right. But what are the other factors that come into play? Welcome to Beyond Colostrum, the show where we'll talk about how to optimize your calves with science and research that goes beyond just colostrum. We'll challenge the ways you typically manage your calves, and you might learn some new concepts beyond what you're already used to. Thanks for joining us as we go beyond colostrum.
All right. Thank you, Travis, and thank you, Mike, for joining us again for another episode of Beyond Colostrum. At SCCL, we offer recommendations and protocols for calving season. And you can actually check out our beef protocol on our YouTube channel. Dr. Mike Nagorske walks through what we recommend and how to intervene for beef calves and feeding them colostrum. But one thing that we wanted to kind of talk about today is that a really common concern that we see or that we hear and we understand from our beef producers, especially those commercial cow-calf producers, is that they're always concerned whether a colostrum product, a supplement or a replacer is really worth the investment. And so we want to discuss that today. So Mike, when you hear a concern like that, what's your initial response?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid concern, obviously. When you're trying to look at the price tag of a colostrum replacer, right? And depending on how much colostrum is in there, you're looking at spending anywhere from, $20 upwards of, on the high end, $90 to $100 or something like that. So colostrum is not free. Okay. And I think it's easy because we don't necessarily see a return right that day back to us. And so, we live where we want that, right? And that's just not the way it is. And so it all ties back to, though, the fact of what we're really maybe kind of doing is buying an insurance policy. We're buying an insurance policy, and what are we investing in? We're investing in an immune system, okay? And so, just to kind of lay this out, they've done some studies on if a calf, for example, we call it failure of passive transfer. If they don't get enough colostrum, what happens? Where are we going to make this up? And so, we're, for the most part, in feeder cattle or even the seed stock end of it, we're in weight gain. We're in weights, right? That's what we're getting paid on in terms of these animals. And so the biggest thing, and I'm just quoting and looking down here at some research that's been done. And so they found that in a study down in Clay Center, Nebraska, if calves don't get enough colostrum, basically, or they fail passive transfer, they found that calves had a 35-pound reduction in weaning weight. Okay. And so if you're looking at spending that dollar amount on a calf, just in weaning weight alone is where we're going to make up a lot of the cost, at least get cost neutral. And so calves, if they're 35 pounds lighter, and let's just say we're following these out to 500 pounds, okay, right now, and this was actually a quote back in November, steers bring in $220 per hundredweight, okay? And if they're 35 pounds lighter, okay, that's going to equate to about $77 in today's market, just in weight gain alone, okay? So that is where just in weight gain alone, we're going to make it up. Just to go off of this, though, we said, hey, we're buying an immune system. Well, what happens if we don't have that immune system? They're going to get sick and they're going to die, okay? And in this study, it's interesting. They found that morbidity in the first 28 days of life led not only to that weight gain reduction, but for those calves that were below that, they were 6.5 more times prone to sickness in the first 30 days of life. They were 3.2 times more prone to sickness prior to weaning and 5.4 times more likely to die before weaning. And so, you look at trying to bring these, if you're rearing these animals too, especially the pregnant cow in today's markets with high feed costs, we can't afford to have death. Every calf counts. And so it all ties back to that. So when you add just weight gain alone, and then all the issues too, if you're treating those calves because they fail passive transfer, they have scours, that those costs are going to be an additional to that 30, that $77. So really, we're those costs add up a lot more than the $77. And that cost is really nothing if we're able to save that calf from, failing passive transfer.
It's very true. And the thing that I find most challenging is that it's a matter of preparation, right? So Travis, how do you make recommendations to folks that you can explain all of these economic factors and the return on investment of that colostrum, but how do you help them understand that it really is a preventative measure that they have to take to prevent all of these negative financial consequences?
Yeah, just like Mike said, it's an insurance policy. We buy insurance on the farm for everything under the sun. We buy insurance on our vehicles. I buy life insurance, health insurance. This is really an insurance policy. We hope we don't have to use it, but it's good to have there when we need it in a pinch. And then when we do have to use it and administer it, it's really just ensuring that calf can live a life of productivity. It's difficult. And just like Mike said, we understand it with today's commodities and prices and the inflationary era that we're living in. All of us need to be price conscious, but we also need to provide that insurance policy so that we can get those calves to a higher weight at a cheaper cost. You look at the investment that we've made just to get that calf on the ground. If you go out and you buy a $5,000 to $10,000 bull, that the cost of that calf just in utero is going to be $200 to $400. And then we've ran that cow for 9 months and fed her or rented pasture or done whatever just to get that calf on the ground. And now all of a sudden, we're not willing to pay for insurance, but we've got so much invested into that animal already.
That's very true. And to be clear, I mean, we're not recommending that they feed every single calf a full replacement dose. And we've talked about in other episodes kind of some of those scenarios. But typically, percentage wise, about how many calves do you think is a pretty common percentage to have to intervene with a colostrum supplement or replacer?
Yeah, from the research that's been done, they've demonstrated that about 33% of beef calves fail passive transfer. We've always just chalked it up and Mother Nature is going to take care of it, but Mother Nature is inherently variable. Cow doesn't produce enough colostrum. The concentration of the colostrum isn't adequate. She's got teats that the calf can't latch on to. We have calving difficulties or something like that affects the absorption of colostrum. So on average, again, about 33% of those calves we should be intervening in. The majority of that is going to come from first calf heifers. So, if we were to break that out by calves and cows and first calf heifers, the first calf heifers probably make up over 50% of that. And so we really should be looking for opportunities on our operations where we can intervene and get these calves set up for success.
Definitely. And Mike, you guys have done that on your own operation. I know that colostrum is something that you guys take care of pretty diligently. So what's the approach that you guys take in determining whether or not you're going to use a supplement or replacer, and how important do you feel it is for you to use on your own calves?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing, I'm going to start right off at how important do I think it is, right? It all goes back to this weight gain and morbidity, mortality. And so, my brother does a lot of this. He's a partner with me on it. And we manage our calving very intensely. In that first 24 hours, we calve through a calving barn and we're watching those cows because, again, it goes back to Travis's point. There's so much opportunity cost, obviously, with just what we talked about. We're setting the stage forever with these calves and the productive life they have. And so it's not to me, that investment, it's the benefit we're doing there. And it's the cost I'm leaving on the table by not doing nothing and just saying, we're going to let these cows calve and do what they do. And like Travis said, I mean, you're looking at upwards of 33% that could have this risk of failure. So in our eyes on our farm, we feel the labor that we put into, we have calving cameras, we're going to watch that, and we're going to intervene when we don't. And how do we do that? Well, basically we're going to use a supplemental dose for those calves that just aren't getting up in that first couple hours. And we're going to go in and feed a supplemental, 50 to 60 grams of IgG, a supplemental dose that's about 1/4 or so. We'll offer that via nipple bottle to those calves. And again, they're going to suckle that, and that's going to give them some energy just to kind of get up, get going, and then get on the cow. That's the whole intent with a supplement. When we're getting into some different kind of scenarios, like first calf heifers, for example, or cows that lack udder fill. And for that purpose, I mean, heifers typically lack udder fill on some occasions. We'll go in and we're going to be given we're going to tube feed, 2 quarts to 3 quarts on those calves, depending on birth weight. And we're going to give anywhere between 100 to 150 grams of IgG. And what that does is just gives them their base level of immunity at that level, and then the intention is they're going to have enough now to go get up, suck mom, and they're going to top off their immune system with her. And that's where, we're at. And so we're tube feeding anywhere between that 2 to 3 quarts. And typically that's going to be around 100 to 150 grams of IgG.
Yeah. What I think is really great about how you guys operate is, one, you're prepared. And number 2, you kind of have a plan of action, right? You know which ones are going to go down this path and they're going to get a supplement. You know which ones you're going to go ahead and just start with the full replacement dose and whatnot. And that's communicated with you and your brother. So everyone that's with those calves or hands-on with the calves has the same approach, right? So Travis, oftentimes producers would prefer the cheaper option of maybe a paste or maybe another product that they'll go ahead and feed, and they steer clear of what they think are maybe the more expensive alternatives or less convenient alternatives in a whole colostrum replacer or supplement. So what would you recommend to those producers that just want to start with something quick, cheap, that they feel like is impactful for the calf?
Yeah, there's a plethora of products out there that are either going to be cheaper or more convenient, or whatever the scenario is. But we really have to identify what is our goal by administering this, and what do we hope to achieve. And so when we look at the pace and things like that, those really can't be viewed as a colostrum supplement or alternative, although many of them say it. It's colostral aid or colostral supplement or colostrum booster, things like that. But there's really not enough IgG in a tube to make any impact on passive transfer status of a calf. Now, some of these tubes may provide some energy or things like that. They may even come across a colostrum replacer or supplement on the shelf that is cheaper than our products. But many of those lack a lot of the bioactives and especially the colostral fat that we're targeting. So, and then, when we look at a cost comparison, oftentimes these tubes, they're going to be $12 to $15 for a tube. And you could just as easily provide a supplemental dose of colostrum for the same money. And now you're getting the colostral fat, you're getting 50 to 60 grams of IgG, plus you're getting all the bioactives that help that calf to establish a normal gut flora and stimulate the gut to grow. So there's really, in my opinion, there's really not a comparison, right? Many of these tubes especially are just a convenience factor, but we're really spending money where we could be saving money and providing bigger benefit by providing colostrum.
Absolutely. And if the goal is to supplement or replace maternal colostrum, but we know research shows that maternal colostrum in its whole state is best and most impactful for that newborn calf to establish immunity, to provide energy, to get that gut developed appropriately or effectively, the best way to supplement or replace that maternal colostrum that the dam or Mother Nature should have provided is by having an alternative way to get that calf whole maternal colostrum. And so that's essentially what we do in our product offering, right? Is we provide those calves true colostrum in the form of a supplement or replacer, because we don't want those calves to have to get anything less than what Mother Nature intended for them. So thank you both for joining us and for your input on the value of colostrum for beef calves. And we hope that this is helpful for anyone that's just headed into calving season or maybe in the midst of calving season. We know that it's tough and we know that it's an investment, but your calves are worth it ultimately. And we are really proud to offer products that get herds started off right. So thank you both for joining us for today's episode.
Thank you for watching today's show. If you have questions about something you heard today, or maybe you have a topic you'd like us to address, leave us a message on Facebook. We'll talk again on Beyond Colostrum.